Don Marty, United States Army, Vietnam. This is a special edition, folks, of Voices of History. I met a man last night, actually. It's June 25th. Yesterday was actually the beginning of the Korean War, by the way, 73 years ago, June 25th. But I saw a man last night. His van had stalled on the interstate, off-ramp, and we got him out of there. I got to talking to him, found out he was a Vietnam veteran. Today, June 26th, I interviewed him. It was kind of on the spot and just a raw interview. Told you I was going to start interviewing Vietnam veterans again this year. So he's right there with me, 73 years old today. Don Marty from Wisconsin. He's a great man. He served with Alpha Battery of the 2nd Battalion, 12th Artillery Unit in Vietnam. He was drafted at the age of 19. He went to Vietnam in September of 1970 and came back August of 71. And like a lot of the Vietnam veterans, he suffers with post-traumatic stress syndrome, PTSD disorder, and he's a great guy. I love this guy. I'm so excited. When I got to talk to him today, I was out at the shop out in Clifton, Colorado, which is east of here, and he's having to rebuild his engine, $3,000. He only paid $3,000 for the van, 1976 van. Overheated, just died on him, so that he's going to have to pay $3,000 and $300 for brakes. So anyways, I love the guy. I said, Don, let's just do an interview, and he did. It was hard for him to talk about Vietnam. We talked a little bit last night, but he said he felt better after talking. So that's what a lot of the veterans have told me. But anyways, this is a special edition of Voices of History, YouTube and radio. He'll be on the radio station too. And Brandon Glidden, my buddy, has stepped forward from Florida. He's served in the United States Army. He has stepped forward and offered to help make this video available to you today as we learn more about Vietnam. Brandon, thank you. Love you, brother, and hope to see you soon. And I'm just grateful for your help. So folks, my heart's full. How many times do I say that? It's true. I'm just so excited, like I said, to bring you this. My camera died today. I had to use a second camera. All these things were trying to keep me from interviewing Don, but I got the interview done. And it's shorter than my normal interviews, but it's power-packed. It's fantastic. His perspective of Vietnam. And I just say God bless him. And I want to thank all of you out there that are helping me share these stories. You understand what I'm doing. Some people don't, but you do. Those of you who step forward. Some of you can't afford to do it. It's not a money thing, folks. It really isn't. This is a labor of love. People are helping me to bring these stories out, and it will continue to be a labor of love. And that's what I pride myself on with my veterans. And when I started my work, I had no money. I had no budget. I had nothing. I had a car. I had a lot of equipment. I went down to Arizona, 9-hour drive, and spent 2 weeks in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area, interviewing veterans, and I became obsessed with it, a good obsession, and that hasn't stopped 20 years later. So I'm grateful for those of you who have helped sponsor these stories, so God bless you for it. Okay, folks, that's going to be it for now. I want to remind you that Voices of History Radio is out there. You want to take a listen to it. I just listened to Brad Farrell, one of my Iraq vets, and before that, another one of my veterans. I listen to it all the time, and I just love the stories that are on there. So Don's story will go on there too, and just take advantage of that while we have it, folks. While we have it, man. We still got these freedoms that our veterans fought for, but a lot of them are trying to be stolen from us. This is a ministry to me. I'm giving honor to whom honor's due. And all these veterans, all these years have gone by, and I'm interested in the spiritual side of combat too. So a personal reflection there for you from me. So God bless you. Thank you for watching these videos and listening to the radio station and subscribing to the channel. And I will talk to you again on another program. Don Marty.
Yes.
Now, I know where you live, don't tell me. From Neillsville, Wisconsin.
Yep.
And you broke down last night on the highway. I met you and I found out that you were a Vietnam veteran, and I love what your shirt says. Hate the war, not the warrior. Vietnam veteran, brother. Let me just shake your hand now. Thank you for your service. God bless you. And I wanted just a few minutes here while your van's getting fixed. Just tell me, do you remember the unit you were with in Vietnam, or the company, Army Regiment, or whatever division?
Yes, I was with A Battery, 2nd of the 12th Artillery Unit.
And you were in Vietnam 70 and 71.
September 3rd of 70 to August 23rd of 71.
And you got into some combat over there.
Correct.
When you went over to Vietnam, what do you remember experiencing when you got in country? The weather, I hear it was hot. What do you remember getting off the plane or whatever?
Getting off the plane, and then we had 2 weeks of in-country R&R training, and got the living bejeebers scared out of me, because we were just set up in like bleachers out in the jungle, and all of a sudden I started seeing movement, and they were ARVN soldiers, but they were acting like they were Viet Cong, to see what our reactions were, and our guns were all piled up in a pile, and it was like, my reaction was I wanted to run and grab the gun and start shooting them. You know, and the drill sergeant that was doing that stuff for us, he just said that, well, I'm glad there were some people that were paying attention. He said, y'all could have been dead by now. And 3 weeks after in country, that Charlie overran our company and lost half of our guys, and it was just something that I don't really want to remember anymore.
So you were there a whole year?
Well, 11 months and 23 days to be exact.
Was it a lot of combat out in the field, a lot in the jungles or whatever? Were you there?
Well, we were a mobile artillery unit, and so we either convoyed by trucks or we flew by helicopter. And we moved 13 times in the year that I was almost there. There were like 3 times that we no more got dropped into a location, sandbagged everything, and the next day we were told to tear everything down, we were moving to another spot. And our 155 howitzers could shoot 17 miles one direction. So, you know, they moved us around quite a bit. Yeah. And you did what they told you to do, I guess.
Do you remember how old you were when you were in Vietnam?
I was 19 when I went in, and I turned 20 over in Nam.
What was the most difficult part of your experience in Vietnam? I know that's a loaded question, but I ask the veterans that. Is there, because you have PTSD because of things you saw and experienced?
Right. After what I've seen, I didn't think I'd ever going to be making it back home.
You lost friends?
Yeah. Well, I can't really call them friends. They were acquaintances, because I just started getting to know them, and they were gone in a matter of 30 minutes.
If you can, define combat. What does combat mean to you?
I don't know, protecting my butt. That's what all I can say is that I wasn't a grunt. I didn't have it as bad as grunts did, but yet sometimes we had grunts that were there to protect us. Otherwise, times we had to protect ourselves. And we had, we were on a fire-based depot, and it was on the top of a mountain, and the big guns come along and blew the top of it off of it so we could sit up on top of it. And then we had a signal corps. They were Jeeps with these huge spotlights on them, and signals, you know, the signals. But anyway, one day I was on mine patrol and sweeping our road down to a river that we had a purifying station set up, and that's where we went down every day and got our water. Went down, took a swim, things like that. But after I and another guy had swept the road, me with my M16 and the guy with a mine detector went down one side and came back up the other, and the guy that was running the mine detector, it's clear. And there was like 5 guys that jumped in a Jeep, and we were going to go down and take a swim, and they didn't even make it 3/4 of the way down the mountain, and they blew up. And that just, you know, it's like, they didn't know what was going on. They relied on us to say that it was clear. And
What do you think happened? What'd they hit?
a mine, yeah. And the guy that was either running the mine detector did not detect it, or I don't know. Yeah. But I told my my staff sergeant, master sergeant, whatever, that, hey, this is the last damn time you're going to get me to do that. Got an Article 15 out of it. Yeah. And it didn't bother me any because I had rank and it was a 24-hour deal. You know, I lost my rank down to a private again and got it right back the next day.
What was your rank?
I was a Spec 4.
Spec 4. Is that a corporal?
It's one grade above
Spec
corporal.
4, okay.
Yeah, a specialist. You know. And when I got back to the States, they offered me sergeant stripes, you know, and I told them where they could stick it. You know, and I just wanted out. You know.
Why do you think you made it back and a lot of guys didn't?
I guess doing a whole lot of talking to the Lord.
Do you ever, are you in touch with anybody from Vietnam?
No, coming back, we all made the agreement that we were not going to stay in touch because it would probably bring up too many bad memories. So I just lost all contact with everybody. The only guy that I know, and I don't even know if he's around anymore, but the guy came from Billings, Montana, and he was a sergeant, a commo sergeant, and it was comical because I sat beside him in the plane on the way back, and he says, "You gonna keep your uniform?" And I said, "Nope, as soon as I can get rid of it, I'm going to." And he said, "Well, I'm taking mine home." And I said, "Well, why would you want to do that?" And he says, "Where I live, I got a pretty white fence." And he said, "I'm gonna hang that on my fence, and so every day I can go out and pee on it." And it made sense to me.
You know, you hear a lot about Vietnam, a lot of it's negative, but I mean, you guys were there. Why were you in Vietnam?
Everybody brainwashed me into telling me that I was there to protect the United States. And it was like these little Vietnamese people, they didn't know me any more than I knew them. And it was like, why do I want to kill these people? To protect the people in the United States, you know. They're such a third world country or something that there was no worries of them ever coming to the United States and doing anything drastic to us. You know. And so it was, I treated them accordingly. And I got to learn a little bit of Vietnamese, enough to get by on.
You come home, you told me a little last night, but expound just a bit. Tell me about a homecoming of sorts that you might have had and what happened to you when you came back.
Well, when I left, we'd been loaded on the airplane right at the terminal and backed out and off we went. And when
Let me stop you for a second. Tell me about your last day in Vietnam and then tell me about coming home. You remember your last day? Was it exciting? Did you count down the days with your short time list?
Yes, about the last 10 days that I was there, I'd get up every morning and I'd yell out, "Short!" And the people that didn't know what the heck I was talking about at first, it was like, "Why are you saying short?" And I said, "Because I'm on the short time list. You know, I got like 10 days to go. You know, tomorrow will be 9 days to go." And so finally when they said, "Okay, pack up, you're going back to Benoit," and getting on an airplane and heading for home.
That quick?
Yeah, well, they were trying to do the 5-month early out. That's how I got out so early. And it was like, we got to get the heck out of here. They don't want us here anymore.
Tell me about the flight home and coming home and what happened.
We left Vietnam and stopped in Guam and refueled. And then from there, straight to California. Got out at Fort Ord, California. And when they landed, they got us off the runway, but we stood on an approach, or whatever they called it. And pretty soon here came a truck out with a ladder on it, or elevator on it, and they raised it up and told everybody we got to get out and grab your luggage and head for the base or whatever. And here all these protesters were there protesting, and when we got close enough to them, I can remember this one lady, a girl, I should call her, that she called me a damn baby killer, spit at me, and told me I should be dead, not them. You know? And it was a rude awakening. You know, I was like, what in the hell did I spend time over there for? I should have been one of these draft dodgers and went to Canada, you know, and let Nixon pardon me and come back home, but I didn't. I wasn't smart enough, I guess.
Baby killers, they spit on you, and this took you by surprise.
Yeah. I didn't think I was going to have that kind of a reunion. Yeah.
Well, they didn't do that to the World War II vets or the Korean vets. I'm wondering why, what happened. We don't need to expound on it, but it's unfortunate, and I apologize for the way our country treated you. That's so wrong. I've had some pretty harsh things said if they could find these people today type thing, but you kind of wonder, they're out there in the world.
Oh yeah, well they're a dime a dozen. And it's just, you know, their beliefs, and if you don't believe the way they do, then you're an outsider, you're a cast off, or whatever.
So you come home, has there been any pride at all in being a Vietnam veteran? You wear your hat. I sense there's some pride in you that you served your country.
Excuse me.
Don't, just take your time.
My older sister, I told her what was going on. Sorry.
It's okay. Take a break. I want to tell you something from my standpoint. I've interviewed hundreds of Vietnam veterans, and there's such a love and pride in my heart, and I'm speaking for thousands of people that watch my YouTube channel. They're with you right now, brother. With every tear that's shed, you did what you were asked to do. You paid your bill, as it were. You served your country, and to hell with those that couldn't see that.
Correct.
And you did good. You did great. And I know I'm speaking for a lot of people right now. It's taken a lot of courage for you to talk to me, but finish about your sister.
She told me that if I need help through the VA, I deserve it. And when they evaluated me and told me that I had PTSD, I didn't know what that was. I just thought that I was crazy. And I've talked to a lot of psychiatrists, and the VA has definitely helped me out a whole lot. And I finally got it through my head that when I need help, they're there to help me. And I've got an older brother that was a Marine, and he is a jarhead. You know, he's dumber than a pail of rocks. I'm sorry, Brother Dave, if this offends you, but he said, deal with it. You know, be a man, deal with it. And my dad always taught us that men don't cry. You know, and finally, when I told my parents what had happened, and Dad said, there's nothing wrong.
No.
I'm sorry.
Hey, you're fine.
It's 53 years, and it still tears me up.
53 years since you left Vietnam, and that is just blowing my mind. Just standing here talking to you, that it's been that long. When I started my work, the World War II veterans were almost the same age as the Vietnam vets now, and most of them are gone.
Or younger.
But you know, at our veterans cemetery here in town, 80% I'd say of the interments are Vietnam vets now. And so in a few years, you know, who's going to tell the story? So this is valuable, brother. This isn't a coincidence. We're here today. I feel it's a divine connection, what happened last night with your van and everything.
I just keep thinking that there was 58,000 and some guys that lost their life. And sometimes it's for what? You know, our country is going to hell in a handbasket. And I think our government is about as corrupt as you can get. The politicians are like that. Our president is like that. And it's like we need a change. We need to get back to the basics. and take care of each other instead of worrying about all these people from overseas coming in here and getting everything handed to them. And we have so many veterans that are homeless, that are probably with a lot of PTSD and will not acknowledge it or just kind of shun away from it. Getting spit on and called baby killer. And
so, okay, all these years later, 53 years since Vietnam, you said you're living on borrowed time, brother.
Right.
And I want you to keep going though, you know. I want you to keep going though.
When the old ticker goes out, then it's my turn, I guess.
I understand, but I'm going to be praying for you. And I just think it took a lot of courage just to share. I know you have a lot that you could talk about Vietnam, and I wish we had the time, but you know, my heart is grateful, brother, for what you did. And when I saw you last night, I have such a love for our vets. You're talking about tears. And what would you say to another Vietnam vet out here that might be watching this, and they will be watching this?
Brother, I'm glad you made it back. And I hope you don't have too many bad memories. You know, maybe you have some good memories from over there. I don't have very many at all. Learning to speak a little Vietnamese, talking to Mama San, Papa San, Baby San, being invited to eat with them. And I was brought up to what I put on my plate, I cleaned up. Over there, I got fed rice and little bitty minnows. And so when I looked at the bowl and seen the little minnows laying in there that were dead, you know, but I ate everything up, and I set it down and I patted my belly and said buku, which means a lot. And Mama San picked it right back up and put more into it and handed it back to me and expected me to eat some more. Well, I found out later on that if you leave a little in the bowl, they know you're full. You know. But I didn't know that. You know. And so that was some memories that, you know, are good, you know, but then there's a lot of bad memories that I can try and get out of my mind, out of my head, but they'll stay there the rest of my life.
I'm going to ask you a question I usually ask at the beginning of the interview, but where did you go to basic training?
Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
And were you
infantry?
Were you drafted?
Yes, I was drafted. I was 14 on the lottery, and my birth date was 4/11. So if everybody knows what I'm talking about, that, you know, I was really low on the totem pole.
Were you a 13 Echo? You went to Fort Sill for artillery training. Do you remember if you were a 13 Echo? It doesn't matter if you are or not. You were in artillery though?
Yeah, I was in artillery though. I was trained on 105 howitzers.
So Fort Bragg to where? Did you go Bantam?
Fort Sill, Oklahoma.
Okay, Fort Sill, that's where they do that, right. And let's see here. Let me, you were in high school, you get out of high school, you know Vietnam's going. Did you think, oh my gosh, my number's coming one of these days?
Yes.
And you mentally prepare yourself as a teenager, like, or do you even think about it?
I tried not to think about it. I had two other buddies that we were sitting around watching the draft they had every night. And one of my buddies got a college deferment. And so he said, hey, I ain't going. And the other buddy, he was a 4F. And he didn't qualify some way or another, but they took me. I had rheumatic fever when I was young, and I've got flat feet. And everybody told me, oh, they ain't gonna take you, you know. And I asked the doctors about that, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with you, you're going.
I got just a few minutes left on my battery here, so 2 more questions. What does freedom mean to you? After all you've been through this country, what does freedom mean to Don?
Freedom means that I can do almost anything I want, within reason, within the law, and that's about it.
The price for freedom?
Priceless. There's no, you can't put a price on your freedom. And the guys that lost their lives, they probably maybe would have thought the same way, but they're just memories now. And they're memories that I don't really want to forget, but there's bad things that I'd like to forget about it too.
What does the American flag mean and represent to you?
My country. And I was so proud of it at one time. I'm not that proud of it anymore. It's the way the government is opening up the borders and letting all these people come across, and they maybe have reasons to come across, but we're getting the derelicts, we're getting the drug pushers, we're getting pedophiles and all these people, and we don't do no screening. We just let them keep coming in. So there's my freedom. It's going a little at a time.
God help us all.
Amen.
At the end of my interviews, if you watched one of my documentaries, I asked the veterans to salute into the camera. Could you do that when I tell you? Okay. Okay, sir. Don, Marty, I just want to say thank you. God bless you. Thank you for serving our country. On behalf of all of my YouTube audience out there, people that love you, they don't even know you, but they're gonna with tears cry with you today, and I am. But I'm so grateful. I think this is divine connection. God brought us together today.
I hope so.
Neither of us planned this, and this video is going to help a lot of people. I find a lot of people. You told me last night you felt a little better after you talked to me, so
right.
Let's just hope that's where we're going to let that stand. But I just wanted, on camera, I want to give you a hug, tell you that I love you for what you did for our country, brother, and I want you to just be safe and stick around for a few more years.
I'm going to try.
Amen.
I'm really going to try.
All right, well, I salute you. God bless you. Amen.